Another topic that we want to jump on is the Sears building. That is a historic building, correct?
It is not.
It is not?
The South Glendale Community Plan did not define it as potentially historic.
Was it historic at one point?
No, it was not listed.
So it was never a historic building. Okay, so we cleared that up because a lot of people were talking about that building being a very historic building and it falls into the historic category and it shouldn't be demoed.
What I would say is that there was, depending on the path of that project at the time, council was interested in what we would call building forensics. Let's see what's behind the facade that's on there. There might have been an older material, maybe something that was more historic. The initial survey that was done, I believe it was in 2016, 2017, maybe even before, did not consider it historic. But council was potentially, what we can do with plans, the director of community development, myself, or the city council can instruct somebody of a large scale project to go and investigate this further. They want to see it, and that's part of the environmental review process, actually. Now, the interesting that happened, and this really kind of goes back to those concerns of state rules that come in. A bill we didn't see coming, AB 130 came down and basically said if you're not already on the register as historic, we can't even ask you to go and do additional work to find out. That project gets to move on a fast track to be developed, and ultimately that project will. It won't have to go through that additional environmental analysis that we thought it was going to, that we had instructed, the council instructed them to do, because a state bill came down and changed that almost overnight. This was one that we really didn't see coming.
And how long has that Sears building been empty?
Oh, it's had to be.
Was it pre-COVID or during COVID?
I think it was right before or right when COVID. It's like 2020-ish, maybe,
so
2019.
So for 5 years, it's been empty.
Yeah.
And off air, we had a conversation about it. The plans are set. That building's going down, right?
Ultimately, if the owners and the developers decide to move forward with the project, they are still going through a review process with us. But they had received a stage 1 approval. Previously, they're not going to have to come back with the environmental portion. They will have to come back with a stage 2 design. But as of now, all indications point to them moving forward.
And what's the plan? What's going to be built there?
That's going to be largely residential. There will be some commercial at the street level, if I'm not mistaken, but it's 600 plus units that will go into that space.
How many floors up?
Varies. I want to say it maxes out at around 6 or 7. In some locations, round it out to around 5, 6.
So 5 to 6 units, commercial underneath, residential levels. Up top?
Yeah. Correct, yeah.
Say it again?
No, 5 to 6 levels, not units.
I'm sorry, 5 to 6 levels, a commercial on bottom, residential on top. And is this including parking or no parking?
It does include parking.
A subterranean?
Yes. Well, no, I believe part of it's subterranean, and then if I'm not mistaken, some may be above. I'd have to look at the plans.
Because that Sears building includes that large parking structure behind, which there's obviously restaurants on Orange that utilize that parking space for valet and stuff. So are they going to continue to have parking, or what's going to happen there? Because like as I mentioned, there are restaurants there that utilize it for valet, especially that banquet hall. And that banquet hall, and you know how Armenian events are, man. I've
been to a few,
yeah. You get 200-300 people in a banquet hall, and these people need their cars parked. If there's enough parking space, now that's going to cause a little bit of a bigger issue.
So we do have one city garage right next door to that.
Yes.
The city garage. What I would say to that is right now, whatever parking is being done in that is a private transaction between the owners of that property now and those business owners. I don't know if they'll carry that forward in the future. But right now we have no purview of what they do in that garage. That's privately owned. They decided they were going to start kind of renting out the spaces, if you will, or charging for them to be used. But that's a private transaction between the two.
So this goes to my next question. Anytime a restaurant is open or some sort of banquet hall is open, in order to get a certificate of occupancy or a conditional use permit or anything like that, you need to have a certain amount of parking spaces in order to operate that business. You have a banquet hall now. And I'm sure they got some sort of CUP in order to operate that banquet hall. Same goes for the restaurant next door. If that owner right across the street decides, you know what, Mr. Banquet Hall owner, I'm no longer going to be leasing you this parking space anymore, what happens then? Can that banquet hall continue to operate, or what's going to happen?
That would depend on the agreement. If there's conditional use approval was dependent on them having a parking agreement with somebody, they would have to come back with another one somewhere else. That likely is not the case there. It is downtown. Downtown does have more flexible parking requirements to it. But again, I'm going to go back to that kind of conversation about the state regulations that come down. Even when you get outside of downtown, AB 2097 allows pretty much any project that is not a stadium or assembly use to skirt parking regulations. We had a medical office building being proposed right in the middle of downtown with 0 parking. And that's because they can take advantage of some of these regulations that have come down, and our parking rules don't apply. It's an unfortunate consequence of more of those pressures.
Yeah, because when you think about it, it's like, all right, you built that banquet hall, you were able to justify the parking.
Mhm.
Now, if that parking is taken away, can you now justify it?
Well, there's another parking also on the other side. I think it's a B of A or
Yeah, but again, remember, this is all shared parking with a bunch of other restaurants.
No, I understand, but if the agreement says that, or the contract says that, as long as you come back with another agreement with, let's say, 50 cars guaranteed or whatever that ratio is, number is, then if they allow it,
I hope so.
I would think, why would they take the CUP away? Because if that's the case, then no new developments should ever happen, because whatever my conditional use permit is and the parking requirements, now all of a sudden some other building is built, I lose my business that I've been operating for 20 years.
Well, I'm not saying lose your business, but do we have a call, Joe?
We do.
Okay, I'm not saying lose your business, but what I'm saying is, are there going to be steps taken where these people will continue to operate and not worry about possibly being shut down by the city? That's my biggest concern.
If you enjoyed this short clip, go ahead and click here to watch the full episode. And make sure to click here to subscribe to our channel to watch all other episodes of the WiseNuts podcast.